How many times in the last week have you felt stressed? How many times in the last month have you felt stressed? Even more so, how many times in the last year have you felt stressed? Maybe the stress has been a result of things such as schoolwork or eating options for the night. The stress might have also been a result of conflicts with friends or family members. I surely cannot count the amount of times that I've been stressed in the past month, week, or year on my hands. Stress is a normal part of life, and if you answered yes to any of these questions about feeling stressed, you are not alone. In a study from the American College Health Association, 62% of college students reported experiencing stress in the last 12 months. And of those students, 27% said that the stress had a negative effect on their academic performance. Stress can be debilitating. There are so many factors that play into when we're stressed and why we're stressed. We have a lot of things on our mind as college students. I, again, can speak for myself when I say that stress is part of my daily routine. And it's not always a bad thing. We need stress to keep us alive and to keep us awake and alert to the situation. But the levels of stress which we experience are not good for our being. They can cause us to push things off. They can increase our anxiety, and they can add to a lot more procrastination. On top of this, there are many more physical and psychological deficits of being stressed. The Mayo Clinic has reported a number of deficits of being stressed, leading to negative impacts on sleep, muscle tension, decreased cognitive abilities, high blood pressure, weakened immune systems, increased risks of heart attacks, and so many more. They've also reported that stress affects not only our moods, but also our bodies and behaviors. For example, somebody's stress might be exhibited in tense muscles. This could then lead to a mood of being restless and irritated, and could ultimately lead to outbursts of anger and frustration. This is a common way that people experience and express our stress. And it's not great for ourselves when we act this way or for the people that we're surrounded with. On top of this, high levels of stress can also impact our physical and mental well-being. We have so many things that are going on. We have so many assignments to keep up with, meals to figure out, friendships to maintain, family members to keep working on, careers that we have to figure out. The list goes on and on and on. There are so many things that we're dealing with, and we can't deal with all of them at the same time. So often, we have to pick and choose what we can deal with. And when we're highly stressed, our mental health is one of the first things to go out the window. Mental health disorders are impacted by stress very directly, and stressful life events are one of the leading causes of mental health disorders. Some of these disorders might be post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as adjustment disorders and attachment disorders. People also experience mental disorders such as depression and bipolar disorder as a result of stressful life events. Now, these disorders, depending on what your background is and your biological and psychological vulnerabilities, may be more or less impacted by stressful events. But the research is clear that when someone experiences a stressful life event, they are more susceptible to developing a mental disorder. And on top of this, if we're not aware of the risks associated with our health and associated with high levels of stress, and if we don't directly work to deal with how we can mitigate the amount of stress in our life, then we will only increase the risk that we might further develop a mental health disorder. This is why it's so important for us to talk about stress. Specifically, I can remember being a college freshman, moving to New York from North Carolina to start a new life and come to college, and experiencing a really stressful life event, having to deal with a big obstacle of learning to live with somebody else, figuring out what life on a college campus was like, and all of the other things that come with coming to college. College freshmen all across the country and across the world face huge changes which can lead to lots of stress. Levels of depression increase as students come to college due to a lot of other factors, but also highly due to stress. We have so much more work to do, so many more activities to balance. thinking about what career path we want to choose and which courses are best to take that semester. All of these things add to stress, which again can be very debilitating. Thankfully, we now know that there are many ways to address stress, but we have to be intentional about this. One of the best ways we can do this is a practice called mindfulness. Mindfulness is the intentional attentiveness to our thoughts and feelings, which we approach with a sense of self-kindness and compassion. Mindfulness is not an eraser that we can use to wipe away all the negative thoughts and the stressful things, but it is a good resource to address the things that are happening in our life, how they're making us feel, and what's causing stress. We have to start small. We can't erase, like I said, we can't erase all of our stress with the blink of an eye. We have to find ways to start small, and mindfulness allows us to do this. There are many practices that you can use, such as breathing practices, mindfulness journaling, gratitude journaling, relaxing and focusing on your day with a face mask or a conversation with a friend. All things can be skewed to be viewed mindfully. What's most important about this is that in order to be mindful, we have to be aware of our situation, and we have to be willing to address the fact that we all deal with stress and that it's a part of life. But stress doesn't have to be debilitating. It doesn't have to make us procrastinate more, and it doesn't have to harm all of our relationships. How can we deal with stress? I hope that you can learn to start small. Watch a breathing video. Write down one thing that you're grateful for, and that we can further dig into the reasons why stress is harmful, and mindfulness is a great tool to use to combat the life that we live full of stress. Thanks for listening.